Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Felicity here, and in this video I'm going to do a tarot deck review, and that is the tarot of the Little Prince. So here is the box. So this deck is published by Lo Scarabeo, and so just by looking at the box and the cover, you know that the illustration style and most of the cards are painted in warm tone color, and sometimes with the suit of swords it's in cold tone color, but overall it's kind of project some kind of cartoon, and it looks like it is painted in watercolor. And I like the painting style very much. And so this deck is actually inspired by the book by a French writer. So the book is called The Little Prince, and I always got mixed up with the work by Oscar Wilde. The title of the story by Oscar Wilde is called The Happy Prince. So if you have time, you may want to read both the short story by Oscar Wilde as well as this book by the French writer called Antoine de Saint-Exupery. Pardon about my French, and I don't read French. And so this copy is in English translation, and I feel like yes, this deck is very much about, you know, the current situation. You can interpret it in different way, of course, just like how you interpret a piece of literature. And when you are interpreting the cards or a deck, you can look at it in different angles. And for now, I feel that the book, The Little Prince, as well as the deck, can describe or depict what is going on around the world right now, the current situation. And I remember that I bought this book last year around October, and I just read a few chapters, and now I pick it up again because I haven't finished reading it. And suddenly one day, just some page of the book flung open to me, and especially please, you can pay attention to chapter 11. But of course, you can read the whole story if you have time, or you can get hold of a copy of this book. And through symbols and metaphors and personification of the story, you get a lot of answers describing the certain the current situation right now. So it's worth reading. And especially this book was published during the second WAR, and it was published in 1943, and the writer was a French aviator. And so 1 year after this work was published, this writer disappeared during a flight. So I just don't know. I feel that this writer knew something. Actually, it feels like a lot of things got hidden in this work. So it's not necessary to read this book in order to interpret the cards, but if you want to know about certain things, certain situation, and it helps to read the book, I feel. So I'm not sure if I should read chapter 11 for you. So it's about so chapter 11 is about the Little Prince described in the book visit different planets. So chapter 11, The second planet was inhabited by a conceited man. I'm about to receive a visit from an admirer, he exclaimed from afar when he first saw the little prince coming. For, to conceited man, all other men are admirers. Good morning, said the little prince. That is a queer hat you are wearing. It is a hat for salutes, the conceited man replied. It is to raise in salute when people acclaim me. Unfortunately, nobody at all ever passes this way. Yes, said the little prince, who did not understand what the conceited man was talking about. Clap your hands one against the other, the conceited man now directed him. The little prince clapped his hands. The conceited man raised his hat in a modest salute. This is more entertaining than the visit to the king, the little prince said to himself, and he began again to clap his hands, one against the other. The conceited man again raised his hat in salute. After 5 minutes of this exercise, the little prince grew tired of the game's monotony. And what should one do to make the hat come down? He asked. But the conceited man did not hear him. Conceited people never hear anything but praise. So I just read a part of the content from chapter 11. So if you are interested, you may want to borrow the book or purchase the book and to understand more about what the future holds after the current situation. And yes, so after reading chapter 11, I suddenly realized that the media or social media sometimes create a man-made God in order for people to worship. So is it a good thing? Is it a good thing when there's a man-made hero or man-made God presented to us for us to worship? Why do I say that? Because in 2018, and I worked for a non-profit organization with Christian value, with a Christian background. And during a speech given by the person in charge at that organization, and before the speech, the spokesperson told the audience not to clap after the speech because we need to give credit to God, to the higher power above, and not. I was not understanding. I did not understand why not to clap our hands after the speech, because it's normal. It's like a mechanic thing, right? So we are trained to clap our hands after each speech given by the speaker, right? So it's normal. But why this person who worked as a person in charge with a Christian background asked us not to do so? And right now I understand why, especially after reading chapter 11 from this book, The Little Prince. The reason is that when we focus so much attention on the man-made God or the man-made spiritual person or spiritual leader on earth, we forget about what is above, the higher power or God. And the more we worship what is on earth, the more we worship the man-made hero or the man-made God, the further away we draw our attention away from the higher energy above, from our own spirit. So I feel that we always need to look at what has been created by social media, social platform, by what it has been portrayed in the news that we read, in news that we watch every day. So when people ask why, if there is a God or if there was a God, why God let this happen? And the reason is that we as humans create a God of our own and forget about paying attention to the God above. But of course, and sometimes a lot of things, a lot of fights have been created in the name of God, right? So we have to draw the line here. We have to focus on the balance between our own self and between what is on earth and what is happening above. This includes astrology as well. And so we need to be very conscious, like we need to be very awake when it comes to looking at things, especially looking at what has been presented to us. And I remember when I was studying literature in university, almost all the professors told us to always look at things at different angles and not just focus on one extreme to another extreme. Because when we focus on the extreme, we only focus on the 100% good thing of certain sides and 100% bad things from certain sides. And it's not very healthy because there is a balance that we ignore. So when we ignore the balance, it's very dangerous and it creates confusion and chaos. And so when we look at the people or the person that has been projected or portrayed on social media, we always need to remember there is always good thing and the evil in one. So there's always good and evil in one. That's what we learn as a literature researcher. Like if a human brand himself or herself as a saint, that is when the devil comes in. Because when you always think yourself as a saint and you ignore the fact that you are human after all, you have your own weakness or you have your own chaos that you need to deal with. And so in order to look at the temptation on earth or the chaos on earth, we always need to remind ourselves that there is not 100% perfect human being on earth, and there's not 100% evil human being on earth. So we always have our own good side as well as the evil side. So good and evil in one person. Just like the movie, like Angels and Demons, right? I remember there's a movie called Angels and Demons. If you are not so sure about that, you can Google it, I think. So it talks about there's a good side in a human and there's a bad side of a human. So we need to remind ourselves that there's not 100% perfect human being on earth. And when we think ourselves as a saint, as a perfect human beings, and it's very dangerous because we overlook there's an evil side that lives within us. And we also need to not to always focus on that the side that okay, we are the victims of certain things. I think that when you brand yourself as a victim, then you feel helpless. When you feel helpless, you need to always ask for help instead of seeking help from within. So you have your own strength. So you do not need to seek help. Or you need to seek help from within and find your own strength instead of seeking help from the outside. So we cannot always brand ourselves as victims sometimes. So not to victimize ourselves in all the situation. That is when you can find your own strength in every kind of unpleasant situation. So it's good to read this book in order to understand the current situation. And because through symbols, through a lot of things, I think the answers lies from this book, in this book. And it also helped you to understand better about the cards that in portraits, because this deck is based on the book The Little Prince, right? Of course, you do not need to always limit yourself by always thinking about the content from the book. If you do not want to read the book, that is fine as well. And so now I'm going to give you some type of interpretation of certain cards, because I do not always interpret cards in a traditional way. So I'm going to find some cards that are important to look at. So let's look at certain cards, shall we? Okay, the first card I would like you to look at is this Two of Wands. Two of Wands. So it's different from the traditional deck. I see this as Two of Wands as, you know, when you look at partnership or branching out to for a new adventure, and what you need to pay attention to is the whether your opponent or whether this opportunity will give you the same advantage like what you have right now, because you see that this one on the left hand side is shorter than the one on the right hand side. So it feels like when you branch out to a new adventure, to a new job, or even moving away from what you have right now, you need to look at whether the new opportunity or the new partnership will give you the same advantage like you have right now, because of the different lengths of the wands. It also means that you are your own echo, you are your own mirror in this situation. Like you need to look at this opportunity, this new adventure will give you, is it a real opportunity for cooperation, or it is just an illusion? Like you see that this persona here, it's like a shouting out, and then all this person here is the echo, because this is like receiving the echo of your own voice. So it can mean that this new opportunity may not be good, may not be what you imagine, because here when you shout out, you can hear the echo of your own voice. So you may not receive help like you have imagined. Okay, so this is Two of Wands. And then the second card, this is the Sun card. So normally when we think about the Sun card in a traditional sense, we look at receive the warmth or the youth. But here I feel like the Sun card means contemplation. It also means contemplation of the things that you need, because the sun is always shining, and the brightness and the optimistic outlook on things. But here there is a rose here, like rose needs the sunshine, right? So here this is a persona here. Can a person, like can a human being gives the warmth like the sun gives the rose? It may not, cannot help. As a human being, we can help the rose by giving this nutrition, by putting the soil, by putting the water, right? Water the rose. But then what the rose needs is the sunshine. So as a human being, we may not be able to give the sunshine to the rose. So the Sun card here means that we cannot always give what the other person needs. Okay, and so it can also mean contemplation of the things that we need, or contemplation of the things that the other person or other creature needs. Alright, and then next card, this is the Four of Cups. So you can see that with the protection of the glass dome, even though you place a lot of emotion that you water this rose, the rose cannot receive the emotional caring or the real nutrition because it has been protected. It can also mean that when someone's heart is not open to receive the emotional nutrition, and no matter how hard you work, how much effort that you put into a relationship or a partnership, when the other person is refusing the emotional offering, and it's no use. So it means that no matter how hard you work into a relationship, if the other person on the receiving end is not is very protective of her or his own feeling, at the end it may not work out. It may not work out fine. Okay. And also when it comes to parenting, you know, if you are very protective as a parent, then you always like create the emotional, like an invisible shielding of a flower to your children, and then these children may grow up not knowing how to receive the emotional help from others, or may not be able to open up to emotional offering because this flower, these children, this child, it's always worried about getting hurt because of the protective parents that the protective parents create to always worry the child of being hurt. So when you always tell the child to protect himself or herself emotionally, when this child grows up, this child may not be able to open up emotionally because of the protective energy that the parents create when this child grow up, when this child receive in his or her own childhood. So it can mean like this. Okay, next one. This is like a Two of Swords. And so Two of Swords can mean like in a meditating mode, you need to stay away from the temptation, from distraction. Even though like this fox is like distracting this persona away from the achieving some kind of meditating stage, right? So it's like refusing to succumb to the temptation or the distraction. So no matter how hard this fox is trying to distract this persona may not move because of the alone time, like being alone can help to make a decision. So this Two of Swords can mean that before you make a decision, you need to stay away from distraction or temptation or persuasion from others. Alright. Okay, next one is the Empress card. This Empress card actually remind me of the fairy tale Cinderella because here is there is a clock, and this little prince is running away from something, and it reminds me of the story of Cinderella, but the gender has been switched from Cinderella to a boy. Alright. So I think that this Empress is like the grown up version, the mature version of Cinderella, teaching this little boy about the time, about the limitation of time. So it reminds me of the Saturn energy as well, the Saturn energy in a motherly form. And it's also about staying away from illusion. Like, you know, in a story of Cinderella, what we see may be an illusion, especially for the pumpkin carriage and the mouse as the driver of the carriage, right? So when the time is up, we can see the illusion, like the illusion breaks up, the illusion breaks, the breaking of illusion, and then what is real will be presented to us at the end, or when the time is up. So I can see the Saturn energy here. Okay. Okay, next one here is, this is the Page of Pentacles. Page of Pentacles here, I see this reminds me of the business person, and he got an idea, but then even though he got an idea, he's always asking you for help financially, or it's like a person asking you to invest in something. So you need to be careful to look at whether this is a solid plan or not, because at the early stage you may not know whether this plan will come into fruition or not. So it's like when this card is presented, it's like someone is asking you to invest in himself or herself, or this person may ask you for an investment or cooperation of a business. And then it's like this person may not be sharing, okay? It may not share something with you. He may not share something valuable, something solid with you. But this person is always asking you for solid idea or solid support financially. So you need to be careful, all right? This person may be thinking of himself or herself always, okay? This person may not be thinking of others when it comes to cooperation, because it seems like he or she is living in her or his own planet. Okay, so this is how I interpret this card, Page of Pentacles. Okay, next we have the Moon card. Okay, the Moon card. I see this is really form-fitting, because we can see that the image projected here, the shadow projected here, it's like in the shape of a rabbit. Rabbit signify fertility, so it has something to do with the moon. But then we also need to be careful whether this is an illusion or something real. So once something has been moved away, and then we cannot see the shadow cast here. So we need to be careful whether this is real or not. It can also this card also related to Rahu. Okay, Rahu is kind of like an illusion. Once something solid has been removed, and then the illusion will break. So it has something to do with the moon, or with the eclipse of the moon, or the node of the moon in astrology sense. Okay, so it also means that when it comes to fertility, you need to be careful with illusion or with the timing as well. Okay, so it means that if you are carrying a baby, you need to be careful with the eclipse time as well, or the new moon or full moon time, the new moon or full moon cycle as well. Okay, so it can also mean the man-made, like you make a baby in a tube, because like this person is making something with the hands gesture. It can also mean some kind of man-made baby in a tube, because of due to the fertility issue. you can interpret it like this, because you can see that here in the rose inside the glass dome, right? So it reminds me of the tube, the baby in a tube. All right, so it's like a man-made baby instead of the natural fertility things. Okay. Oops. Okay, now last but not least, this is the lover's card. So here we can see a rose here is a fresh rose, but then the rose can have the expiry date, right? So especially the fresh cut flowers. Of course, we nowadays with the modern technology, we can always preserve the rose and prolong its lifespan using chemicals. All right, and so with the rose here, it means that when it comes to decision making, sometimes the lover's card means decision making. When it comes to decision making, it seems like time is running out, because you know the rose petal will fall out one by one, day after day. So with the time, it's like when it comes to decision making, time is running out. When it comes to relationship or love, this card can mean that we need to live at the moment and not worry about the future. Why? Because the rose, when it's fresh, we need to appreciate the rose at the moment, living at the moment, and not worry about the death of the rose, because we all know that the rose will expire one day. It can mean that someone is worried about the expiring of a relationship, like someone is worrying about the relationship will not last, or it can mean that because of the past relationship, this person may not believe in love anymore. This person may not believe in the long-lasting love anymore because of the past trauma. All right, so because when we were young, okay, when a person was young, he or she may have a lot of good things. He or she may have a lot of good optimistic outlook on love, on romantic relationship. But because of one or two failures in romantic relationship, this person got disappointed from the past relationship, especially when they were young, and so they may not believe in long-lasting love anymore when this card comes up. So this is how I interpret these cards and this deck. You may get an idea about this deck. So I hope you enjoy this tarot deck review. So see you in the next video. Bye bye.